So this was a Davanagere style Benne Dosae.
Purely Davanagere Benne.
So that's because your father was in Davanagere.
He has an experience of 34 years.
In Davanagere, making Benne Dosae.
Yes.
Only the coconut and then the green chili.
Open dosa, double roast coming up some.
You got the gatti chutney, you've got the palya, and there's also a bit of benne, a tiny smidgen of the benne that they smear on the chutney just to remind you, lest you forget that this is a benne dosa. Good coffee. You got a nice mouthfeel to it. Washes all that butter down. So looking forward to the dosa?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And you were telling me this is lunch for you.
Yeah, on most days these are brunch.
Brunch. Yeah. So I'm with my friend Jimmy Amrolia, who is amongst many things that he does. He's also a keen cyclist.
Yeah.
And also a keen motorcyclist, but I think he's more partial to the cycling part of things.
Yeah, I end up doing about 10,000 kilometers every year on a cycle.
10,000 kilometers every year, oh my goodness. So that takes some dedication, that takes some real determination. Huh?
Yeah, it's a lifestyle change. Through that process, I've lost about nearly 35 kilos. So.
Fantastic. But lest you think bicycling is all about losing weight and depriving yourself, no, none of that. Yeah. Many a times when you used to go cycling, you'd put up these posts of this fantastic looking dosa, and every time I look at it I say, okay, you know, I must go and try it, I must go and check it out. And so today we're just about to do that.
Malleshwaram Benne Dosae is a small hole in the wall kind of a place. Only the locals know of this place. And I've been here for the last 3 years.
Fantastic. So today even I'm going to be breaking my fast with the Benne Dosae, which of course is a trend that's made popular by the Davanagere Benne Dosae. So this is made in the same style.
Exactly. 50 meters down the road, you'll get one of the finest coffees.
Really?
Yeah, in Bangalore. So I'll take you there later on.
So Benne Dosae followed by coffee. Sounds like a plan. But this we're doing for lunch on a Friday.
We know you, but you don't know us.
Okay.
Videos from,
you got some.
the US, and thank you for telling us about all the places.
Nice to meet you guys.
Nice meeting you, Gopal.
See you.
Mind if we take a photo with you?
Yeah, sure. How's the dosa here?
He makes such awesome Davanagere Benne Dosae and very authentic and so crispy and full of
butter. Benne. Butter makes everything better. Lovely. Thank you. Nice meeting you guys. Namaskara. Namaskara. Chanagidira. How are you doing?
Doing good, sir.
Nimde hesaru enu?
Bindeshwaraya.
Bindeshwaraya.
Yeah, correct.
How many years are you doing this? Eshtu varshinda?
6 years.
6 years inda. Bada famous ide.
Yes, sir.
Yaake?
Taste agide sir.
Idಕ್ಕೆ ಮುಂಚೆ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ರಿ?
So ಇದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಮುಂಚೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ I am an architect. He's in that business. He has an experience of 34 years.
What's your father's name?
Shantaya.
Mr. Shantaya.
He's from Davanagere only.
Oh, he's from Davanagere. But where is he now?
He's now in the new branch.
Oh, where is your new branch?
It is New Beer Road. Just opened yesterday.
So this is what the Davanagere style Benne Dosae.
Purely Davanagere Benne.
So that's because your father was in Davanagere.
Yes.
So was he working in?
Yeah, he's working in a different branch in Davanagere.
In Davanagere, making Benne Dosae.
Yes.
Batter for this almost is a consistency of water, ಅಲ್ಲ? So same standard Benne Dosae ಏನು ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ. ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ಉದ್ದಿನ ಬೇಳೆ, ಮೆಂತೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ಕಡಲೆ ಪುರಿ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಮೈದಾ ಕೂಡ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ. Very little. 1%. ಮತ್ತೆ ಸೇಮ್ ಸ್ಟೈಲ್ ಅದು ರೈಸ್ ಸೋಕ್ ಮಾಡಿ ನೆನೆಸಿ ಡ್ರೈ ಮಾಡಿ ಮಿಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ತಗೊಂಡೋಗಿ ಪೌಡರ್ ಮಾಡಿ
ವೆಟ್ ಅಕ್ಕಿನೇ ತಗೊಂಡೋಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಮಿಲ್ಲಲ್ಲಿ ಗ್ರೈಂಡ್ ಮಾಡಿ.
ಸೊ ಆಮೇಲೆ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಡೇ
ಇಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಫರ್ಮೆಂಟೇಷನ್ ಆಗಿ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಡೇ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ
ಇದನ್ನ ಬೆಳೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಒಟ್ಟಿಗೆ. ಸೊ ದೇ ಟ್ರೈ ಟು ಪ್ರಿಸರ್ವ್ ದ ಟಿಪಿಕಲ್ Benne Dosae tradition here, and a part of the dosa tradition is the fact that the palya doesn't have any turmeric. Cardamom ಹಾಕ್ತೀರಾ? ಕಾರ್ಡಮಮ್ ಹಾಕಲ್ಲ.
ತೆಂಗಿನಕಾಯಿ ಮತ್ತೆ ಹಸಿಮೆಣಸಿನಕಾಯಿ.
ತೆಂಗಿನಕಾಯಿ, ಹಸಿ ಮೆಣಸಿನಕಾಯಿ. ಹಸಿ ಮೆಣಸಿನಕಾಯಿ ನೀವು ಇದು ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ, ಬಾಯ್ಲ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ ಸಾಲ್ಟ್ ಒಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಖಾರ ಕಮ್ಮಿ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕೆ? ಮಾತ್ರ ನನಗೆ ಒಂದೇ ಹೇಳಿ, ಇದು ಕೆಂಪು ಚಟ್ನಿ ಹಾಕ್ತಿರಲ್ಲ ಅದು ದಾವಣಗೆರೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಕ್ರಮ ಇಲ್ಲ.
ಸರ್ ಆಕ್ಚುಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಇದು ಇಂಟ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದು ನಾವು ಬ್ಯಾಂಗ್ಳೂರಿಗೆ ಬಂದ ಮೇಲೆ ಅಡಾಪ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ.
Besides the Davanagere Benne which I have in Davanagere, this is the best.
There are some iterations that they've done to the Davanagere Benne Dosae.
Exactly.
Because in Davanagere there is no kempu chutney that gets onto the dosa.
No, that's not. So here, but the flavor that you get and the crispiness of the dosa is second to none.
Fantastic. So like they say, the proof of the pudding or the Benne Dosae in this case is in the eating.
In the eating, absolutely.
I think let's order a Benne Dosae and put Jimmy's Benne Dosae horn to the test. So are you regulars here? Masala Dosae.
Gets over by about 10:30.
Yeah.
People stand in line outside.
You know, although you can order your dosa by Swiggy, etc., but I think the joy of eating a dosa, busy, soon as it gets off the dosa tawa, the dosa hanchu, as they call it, is unparalleled. So I think if you want to eat a dosa that you've heard of, try and make the effort to visit that place and then savor that dosa. What you get by parcel is almost like a consolation prize, huh?
I have actually taken it home and put it on the tawa myself, but you know,
It doesn't
work out. And I've taken this benne also from here. I bought 1 kg. I've kept it with me, and whenever anyone wants to,
So where does the benne come from here?
he gets it from Mandya or from Davanagere.
ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿರ್ತದೆ ಸ್ವಾಮಿ ದೋಸೆ
ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ನೀವು ರೆಗ್ಯುಲರ ಇಲ್ಲಿ
ರೆಗ್ಯುಲರ್.
ಎಷ್ಟು ವರ್ಷದಿಂದ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ?
ನಾವೊಂದು ಓಪನ್ ಆದಾಗಿಂದ ಒಂದು
6 ವರ್ಷದಿಂದ.
ಓಪನ್ ದೋಸೆ ಯೂಶಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಆಯಿಲಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ.
ಹಾಂ.
ಇವಾಗ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಡ್ಯಾಡಿನೇ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಬೆಣ್ಣೆಲಿ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿರೋದು.
ಓ. Always go for the center of that dosa with the palya. Of course, this is a dosa that you have to eat hot, piping hot.
Piping hot.
You have to eat it piping hot when it's just off the hanchu. We've of course allowed it to cool down for a couple of minutes. What I like is the crunch of that dosa.
And the flavor of the
Butter. So the butter is the unsalted butter. So you're not really tasting a salty sort of a hit. What you're tasting is basically the gentle caress of that benne, of that fatty butter. And then the palya. The palya in a typical benne dosa, a Davanagere benne dosa, never has turmeric. It's basically the potatoes and some onions as well. So what they do is basically they boil the onions and then they mash the onions into the potatoes. But what is interesting here is that you have a kempu chutney also, which is
back to pot.
I'm going to taste now a bit of the dosa with just that kempu chutney. ಚಟ್ನಿ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಸುಮಾರು ಪಂಚ್ ಇದೆ, ಸ್ಪೈಸಿ ಇದೆ. ಏನು ಬ್ಯಾಡಗಿ ಮತ್ತೆ ಗುಂಟೂರು ಏನು ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ? ಬ್ಯಾಡಗಿ ಕ್ವಾಂಟಿಟಿ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಗಾರ್ಲಿಕ್ ಹಾಕ್ತೀರಾ? ಗಾರ್ಲಿಕ್ ಹಾಕ್ತೀರಾ? Because I think what the garlic also does is that it elevates the punch, the spicy punch of the Byadgi mensankai. Byadgi mensankai otherwise is more about the color. It's not so much about the chili heat. Whereas here, I think also there's a copious amount of garlic that goes into it that elevates the chili spice. I thought there would be some Guntur or some Mankatti mensankai that would also go into it, but I just learned from the owner that there is none.
The beauty is when you're actually having the chutney, it's not that spicy, but once you actually stop, the flavor of the spice kicks in later on. When you're resting, just suddenly.
I can in fact taste the hit of the chutney on the tip of my tongue. And that's when you go for some of that dosa with the palya. Because the palya has no spicing whatsoever other than some salt. and some of the savory flavors that come with onions. So the onion is not fried, it's boiled with some salt. So other than the dosa, there is very little fat that goes into the making of this. Even the palya is made just with the boiled onions that have been seasoned with salt. I think next time to taste that chutney. Only the coconut and then the green chili.
Hits you later on.
First you're tasting the sweet fleshy flavors of the coconut, the fresh coconut. Amele, in a couple of seconds, what really is hitting you is that punch of that green chili. And that green chili basically grips hold of your tongue. It's almost like tiny needles of chilies that are pricking your tongue, right?
Yeah.
Oh. ನಿಮಗೆ ಸ್ಪೈಸ್ ಇಷ್ಟ ಆದರೆ ಇದು ಚಟ್ನಿ ಸಖತ್ ಇದೆ, ಸಖತ್ ಖಾರ ಇದೆ. But you know, sometimes chili can be addictive.
Yeah.
You eat it first, khara agate, but you want to go back to it.
Similar thing like coffee. It just elevates your taste buds.
Like coffee. Let me now taste a piece of the dosa with the kempu chutney, also the coconut chutney. I love the fleshiness of that coconut. And between the red chili and the green chili, it's the green chili heat that definitely punches your palate a lot more. What's also interesting about the texture of this dosa is that because it's got all these pores, that helps absorb the chutney rather well. So after a while, especially the underside of the dosa that has been touching the chutney is seeped in the spicy flavors of the chutney. And that's when you need some of that palya, that slightly sweetish, blandish flavor of the palya to provide some relief to your palate. I want to taste that next dosa, bisi bisi, as soon as it comes.
Open dosa, double roast coming up, sir. The double roast, piping hot.
The gatti chutney, you've got the palya, and there's also a bit of benne, a tiny smidgen of the benne that they smear on the chutney just to remind you, lest you forget that this is a benne dosa. And what's also interesting with this open dosa is there's some pudi that goes onto the dosa. The chutney pudi, there's some roasted lentils in that.
It's a different flavor.
I think I'm going to make a beginning just with the dosa this time. You can feel the weight of the butter in that dosa. I think that roast, that double roast also gives it a nice, almost caramel sort of a crunch, but minus that sweetness. This has the same amount of butter?
Yeah.
But I guess because it's double roasted, so the sugars in the dosa, the sugars in the batter, they also add a little bit of sugar to give it that color.
And caramelize it.
That's right. So basically what happens is because they're roasted a little more, the sugars that go into the batter have perhaps cooked a little more, and therefore there's also that slight hint of bitterness that takes away from the buttery fervor of the dosa. When I tasted the other Davanagere Benne Dosae, I could taste more of the buttery hit. Whereas in this, I'm tasting more of the toasty flavor of the dosa. Let's taste that dosa with a bit of that gatti chutney. And in this, because there's no water to dilute it, you can definitely taste a lot more of the hit of the chili and also of the salt. Let's go for some of that palya now with a bit of the chutney. You have one of these,
You're done.
you're done.
I normally have two, standard SOP.
Two of this.
So, one of this and one of the belly.
You got to keep in mind that is after cycling for 80 kilometers. I think after 80 kilometers, you can easily perhaps do half a dozen of this and still not feel too guilty about it. I love the crunch of this dosa. Between the two, which is your favorite?
The regular belly. Yeah.
I would also agree with Jimmy. This dosa is also tasty, but there's a lot that's happening here. From the kempu chutney to that pudi that goes in, and of course there's the chutney and the palya even that you're focusing on, and not to forget the extra roast of that dosa, which of course is Jimmy's personal choice. So if you want to taste Malleshwaram Dose Corner dosa in its purest form, I think you should ask for the Benne Dosae and then work your way from there. There's definitely a bit of a salty hit in the chutney that compels you to reach for some of that palya. And every once in a while, you will bite into a bit of that onion.
Onion, yeah.
The onion in this is not too much, it's more of the potato that you're tasting. But every once in a while, you will bite into that translucent bit of onion that doesn't have too much of a savory sort of a character because the onions are boiled, not roasted, not fried. But it does well to moisten your palate and in a manner of speaking, refresh it a wee bit. Jimmy is a pro.
This is my office day, so I'm going to go back, so I'm not having another dosa.
I think that is also Jimmy's cue to me to hurry up. Say, dude, this is what you do for a living, I do other things for a living.
Do you prefer the wet chutney or the dry one? I prefer the wet one.
So even I like the wet one because I think the wet one also allows for a better integration with the dosa. Whereas out here, I think there are a lot of disparate elements. So flavor-wise, yes, it has the punch more combo. The gatti chutney because there is no water to dilute it. But I think the manner in which the chutney gets absorbed in the dosa, the wet chutney definitely scores an edge.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it was very good. Enjoyed it.
I'll take on selfie.
Yeah, sure. And when the owners are eating also in the same place, then you know that the dosa is good. They speak for the food. Fantastic. ನೀವು ಸಹ ದೋಸೆ ತಿಂತೀರಾ ಇಲ್ಲಿ?
ಒನ್ ಡೇ ಹಿಂದೆ ತಿಂತೀವಿ ಸರ್. ತಿಂದಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂದರೆ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಇರೋಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ.
ತಿಂದಿಲ್ಲದ್ರೆ ಇರಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗಲ್ಲ. We're done with the dosa and now off for some coffee.
The best coffee Bangalore has to offer.
The best coffee that Bengaluru has to offer. And what coffee is this?
All the way from Chikmagalur, best flavored and tasting coffee that I can pick.
A dark roast
Yeah, it's a dark.
with a shikri blend.
Yeah.
Shikri blends are coffees that we in Bengaluru like, right? We like to not just drink our coffee, we also like to bite into our coffee.
Coffees which are absolutely strong and local. Papa, ಎರಡು ಕಪ್ ಶುಗರ್ ಕಡಿಮೆ.
ಸರ್ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ.
ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ.
ನಾನು ಒಂದು ತಿಂಗಳಿಂದ ಟ್ರೈ ಮಾಡಿದೆ, ನಂಬರ್ ಸಿಗ್ತದೆ, ಮಾರ್ಕೆಟ್ ನಂಬರ್ ಸಿಗ್ತದೆ.
ನಂದು ಆಫೀಸ್ ಸಿಕ್ಕಕ್ಕೆ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಕಷ್ಟ ಮಾತ್ರ. ವೆನೆವರ್ ಐ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ರೀಚ್ ಸಮ್ವೇರ್ ಐ ರೀಚ್. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಸ್ ಟು ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ಸ್ ಲೈಕ್ ಜಿಮ್ಮಿ.
ಸಿಕ್ಕಿರೋದು ಬಹಳ ನಂಗೆ ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಲಕ್ಕಿ ಡೇ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು.
ಸಕ್ಕರೆ ಕಮ್ಮಿ ಇದೆ, ಬಟ್ ಐ ಥಿಂಕ್ ಸಕ್ಕರೆ ಕಮ್ಮಿ ಇಸ್ ಆಲ್ವೇಸ್ ಬೆಟರ್.
Can't get better than that.
50% ಕಾಫಿ, ಬಟ್ ರಿಪೀಟ್ 80% ಅರಬಿಕಾ, 20% ರೋಬಸ್ಟಾ,
20% robusta.
ಪ್ಲಸ್ ಚಿಕೋರಿ 20%.
So you're definitely tasting the body of that robusta and also of the chicory. ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿದೆ. Good coffee. You got a nice mouthfeel to it. After you wolf down a couple of dosas,
Yeah, it's just palate cleaner.
palate cleaner. And I think it also basically washes all that butter down.
But you'll be perfectly fine in 2 hours time. You'll be hungry. In 2 hours, guarantee you'll be hungry again.
I don't know if I should say this, feeling a little embarrassed, but I think I'm already feeling a little hungry. So thank you very much, Jimmy, for spending time with me on a Friday afternoon. I know it's a very busy last working day of the week.
No, I work on Saturday.
Oh, you work on Saturdays as well. Well, that doesn't make me feel too much better because I've really taken a lot of his time, but it's his fault too because he's been posting all these pictures of the dosa. So I cornered him and I said, Jimmy, you got to finally show me the dosas. He said, okay, fine, let's go. But I really enjoyed them, especially the plain Benne Dosae. So if you love your dosa, definitely find your way to Malleswaram
Benne Dosae Corner there.
Malleswaram Benne Dosae Corner,
17th cross.
17th cross. And if you like some coffee after that, well, come to Hunkal Heights and savor some coffee too. I hope you've enjoyed this vlog. Until the next time, take care, stay safe, bye. If you'd like to support the work that we do at Food Lovers TV, do consider joining our membership community on YouTube by hitting the join button below or on the home page. You could pledge a nominal sum and receive special privileges like behind the scenes footage, shoot updates, access to live Q&As and a lot more. You could support us on a Patreon page as well, For more info, check out the links in the description below. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe, like, share and leave a comment below. Happy eating!